I gotta tell you, man, back then I was probably working for $10 on the hour, but I was learning. So every project I got better. You just get better over time, but you got to put in the time. Like you got to be willing to.
Chris Williams, the owner and founder of Agento.
Intelligent, knowledgeable, expert.
That describes the leader.
Your guys, I see them at 7 p.m., 8 p.m. They proudly wear the shirt. They're the happiest. They're the friendliest. They're out there mingling. That has to do with leadership.
I would agree.
What's the secret?
No place to live either, man.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Eric here, and thank you for watching another episode of the Relentless Goal Achievers podcast. I got a super duper guest for you. He's my good friend, Chris Williams, in the house today. Chris, how's it going?
It's going well, Eric. Thanks for having me today. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Listen, the reason you probably don't know why I asked you to be on the show, but so I'll tell you right now in front of everybody. I moved to this area about 3.5 years ago, not knowing anybody. Most of my clients were still in DC, so no need to network in Lakewood Ranch area. And about, I don't know, maybe a year into living here, I started getting out a little bit more and networking. And there are a couple of people that really stand out. Like you show up and either everybody knows them or they're there or their team is there. And I kept seeing Agento. And then I kept seeing Chris. And at one point I put two and two together. And Chris is the founder and owner of a company called Agento, which is, we're going to hear about it today. But what really stands out is not only how Chris connects with people, not only how he's been able to build his rapport and reputation in this area, but how his team follows him and how positively they speak of him and how positively he speaks of them. Like this is truly cohesion, man. And, so outside looking in, that's how I see you. I see you as a great leader. I see you as an incredible communicator, a relationship builder, somebody who's a giver. And I wanted to bring that to the world, man. So thanks for being here.
Yeah, man. Kind words. I appreciate those. Thank you very much.
All true, brother. Every single one of them is true. So tell us a little bit about, tell us about the company, how to get started.
Sure. Yeah. So Agento, we're a digital marketing agency here in Sarasota, Florida. We work with small to medium organizations, typically in the service-based industry. So think home services, law firms, healthcare, anything service related is pretty much in our bag. We'll consult just about anybody. We've got some retail clients, sure, but the service-based spaces are we're really great at it. It's kind of our niche. We help them with anything digital related. So that means, search rankings, their website, social media, video production and marketing. And, as I always say, if Google comes around and says that herding cattle will make the phone ring for small businesses, I'll learn how to do that too. And we'll offer that whatever I help our clients make the phone ring. We just kind of add those services in there. We get, we learn them, get great. Right now we're studying AI extensively and, seeing how we can leverage that for our clients. So whatever it takes to make the phone ring, that's what we do.
Yeah, man. Last time we had a conversation, we talked quite a bit about ChatGPT and AI. That was a lot of fun. So Chris, before this, how long have you guys been in business?
I started in 11, so I'm in year 13.
Hey, man, congratulations.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. What'd you do before that?
Lots of stuff. Right before it, I worked with a company that did online ordering, for like restaurants. This is 08, 09, 2010 even. Pizza Hut and Domino's did online ordering, but mom and pop places, they didn't really offer it. And so we would go in and build them a digital menu and set up their processing and do all that. And those guys, they got acquired by Grubhub or Seamless, one of those pioneers in that space. They got acquired. I did not. So
man.
I had to figure something out, and here I am.
So did you find yourself without a job, and was that a surprise for you?
It was a surprise. I found myself without a job. Found myself as a new father. My daughter was born in 2011, so new father, unemployed, and I'm not originally from Florida, so I was in quite the pickle. But God is great, man, and opened some doors for me. I had to walk through them though. You know what I mean? So I just kind of did whatever I needed to do. I started the business. I got a full-time job working the night shift, and
Wait,
I
wait,
did
wait.
that.
What was the door that opened that said, "Here, start the business"? And what were you doing working
Oh,
night shift?
oh man,
This is, by the way, remember the podcast is relentless goal achiever. All right. So this, I mean, you are set. I didn't
all
know this.
right, all right,
I did not know this about you. I'm learning. And this is shame on me because
okay.
we've talked
No,
multiple
no, no, no.
times. I should have known the story. Um, this is the epitome of it, right? Like no matter where you are, no matter what happens in your life, like we see Chris now, 13 years later, and
Yeah,
it's a great success. 13 years ago, the world was crashing
it was
in. So
bleak. Yeah, it was
you
bleak.
you got a job at night, working nighttime. You had a brand new baby girl, job
Mm,
at night, and
yeah,
you started business.
no place to live either, man.
No, where'd you live?
I I lived slept in my car for a little bit right before she was born, but I lived for 11 months at the Whitfield Motel in Sarasota. I still drive past it. It's by the airport. So yeah, if you're familiar with the area, I lived there 11 months. Um,
Great
I
area, by the way. It's one of those areas you want to drive through, not to.
yeah, yeah, you don't want to retire there for sure.
You don't want to retire there.
You know what? I I for that company that did the online ordering, I was the coder. I built the digital menu, and so I had a little coding experience. And yeah, I felt like I could go business to business selling websites. In 2011, half the places you go into didn't have a website, so I'd go business to business. And I'd say, "Hey, Mr. Jones, I see you don't have a website." "No, no, we don't have one of those." "All right, well, I'll build you one for, $300, $500, $700, whatever." And just kind of flip one into the next. And yeah, I got a nighttime job at the Goodwill, um, Beneva, Beneva and Weber, the donation center there. And so from midnight to 8, I would, sit there and take donations. Yes, people make donations to the Goodwill at 3 in the morning. You'd be surprised. Um, and then at 9 a.m., I'd run my business for as many hours as I could until I was too tired to do it anymore, and I'd get my rest in the late afternoon, early evening, and do it all over again.
How long did that take until you could quit Goodwill?
I was at the Goodwill for about 18 months. You know,
Did you have a goal in mind? Like, what was the mindset? Can you remember what was going through your mind back then?
when I started, dinner,
Yeah,
dinner. Like it wasn't a business.
yeah.
It was just a way to make dinner. You know what I mean? And provide uh, for my daughter, and I help my mom, and so provide for her, and it was just a lot on I felt on my shoulders, and this is a way to make money. So very very similar to what people nowadays will say side hustle, right? Like very similar to that, except that I was probably doing 40 hours a week, whatever. But um, probably around month 6, I realized that I had something that, like, okay, well, if I do this and I do that, this is a business. I can really support myself and my family doing nothing but this. And I'd added like social media management and SEO and stuff like that back then, and I said, this is something that could actually work, and began to reverse engineer what I needed to do. So, for example, with whatever, I forget what the rates I was charging, but they were like, stupid cheap. But I remember looking at a spreadsheet and going, okay, well, 1 out of 2, 1 out of 3 people that I sit down with, I sell, right? Like they buy, they have a need. I have a good price, a good product, whatever, I sell. And but if I go in 10 doors, 9 of them are going to tell me to get the hell out. No solicitation, leave me alone, whatever. Sometimes meaner than that, but whatever. So how many business doors I got to knock on to get those 3, appointments or opportunities? And I just like reverse engineered it. So then every day I had this goal that wasn't go out and make a sale. It was go out and just knock how many business doors, 20, 40, 50, whatever it was. That was my goal. That was my everyday. I wouldn't go home until I did it.
Man, so how were you learning How are you learning? Technology changes so fast. Social media
Yeah.
management changes all the time. SEO changes all the time. When did you have time to get better at the craft?
A lot of it was by doing. So like those first few months was a lot of web dev, and so I would, uh, you know, run into a problem. You know what I mean? Like, you know, I preach to my guys that we don't do sales here, but back then it was a big part of what I had to do. I had to sell myself, and so like somebody be like, "Oh, can you make my site do this?" Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. And then you kind of go back and you figure it out. Um, that was a lot of that. Okay, I got to figure this out, and I might have. I gotta tell you, man, back then I was probably working for $10 on the hour, but I was learning. So every project I got better. And then when I started doing social, I was studying how it works, studying the algorithms, studying just immersing myself in the tech. Um, yeah, you just get better over time, but you got to put in the time. Like you got to be willing to get your work done, and then spend 3 hours immersing yourself in Google Ads. Spend 3 hours immersing yourself in. Back then, Facebook was you know, and I was willing to do it. Yeah.
Man, that is so freaking inspiring. So what do you think? Okay, if you had to, this is a fucked up question, okay, but I know it is, and I'm gonna ask it anyway. If you had to rate yourself as a leader on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate yourself?
As a leader, I always feel like I can get better at it at anything. Um, my guys, I feel like my guys, the people on my team, the people around me are progressing, but I always feel like I could get better. So I'm gonna say 6.
I would have had you at like a 8.
I appreciate
'Cause
that.
I also think you can always progress. All right, so 6. Let's say your 6 is my 8. Um, what do you think you do exceptionally well? And the reason why I ask this question is because you lead a team of young people that really don't have a good rap right now. As I speak with business leaders, they're like, you can't find good help. These guys can't work 40 hours. Everybody wants to work 3 hours from home or on the
Yeah.
beach and wants to get paid, $100,000 a year as they're
Yeah.
starting out after college. You see young people right now. I mean, you see these reels of like a young man or woman crying in the back of a Starbucks, like, they're making me work 8 hours a day. I don't want to
It's,
do this.
yeah.
It's too
Yeah.
stressful. Yet your guys, I see them at 7 p.m., 8 p.m. They proudly wear the shirt. They're the happiest. They're the friendliest. They're out there mingling. Like, that has to do with leadership.
Okay. I would agree. Yeah, I appreciate that.
What's the secret?
Couple of things, I'm sure there's things that I don't know because we all don't know what we don't know. Um, I want what's best for them, and it's not a party line. And I didn't invent this idea. When I worked for the Goodwill, I'll tell you this. I'll never forget. I don't remember the lady's name, wherever she is. Hopefully, she's doing good. Shouts out to her. But at my orientation for the Goodwill, I'm going to work midnight to 8 a.m. It's some little brick building. And the lady, there was, I don't know, 7 or 8 of us in the room. And the lady got to the front of the classroom and she said, first thing she said, nobody wants to retire at the donation center or the Goodwill. You make a minimum wage. I think I was making like $8 or something, like whatever. Nobody wants to retire at the Goodwill. Whatever it is that you want to do, we want to help you to do that. So if that means you want to work for this, or you want to get this degree, or you want to start a business, or whatever it is, let us help you, because in the meantime, while you're on that journey, we're going to get the best out of you. And they did. They were so generous with allowing me. They let me bring my laptop to work. I'd take a donation at 3 in the morning. I'd sit down and do my work, my business work. And I never forgot that, because when that bell went off and somebody was there for a donation, I sprung into action. Let's go! Like, they got the best out of me because they wanted what was best for me. I could feel that it was palpable, and so that's how I treat my guys. They all want something greater than Agento. I'm okay with that. It's my baby, right? It's not their baby. It's my baby. And so, to a man, to a woman, like, I sit down with them every month and I'm like, what do you where do you want to be, in a year, in 2 years, in 3 years? What's the goal here? And most of them want their own thing. They
Do
want to be
they?
their own boss. Yeah, yeah. And so I not only try to help them, right, help steward them along, but I hold them accountable. Hey, last month you said you were going to have this done. Is it done? Okay. Yes, great. What's next? Or no, why not? What can I
For
do
their
to
business
for
or within
for
your
their for
in their
their
business?
goal? It's a business
I
or
love it.
whatever. Like you want to. This is your goal for 3 years from now, 2 years from now, whatever. Let's get you there. These are the steps you have to take. Um, that's one. Two. Um, I don't. I don't know if every leader looks at leading as serving, but I do. I'm here to make sure that they feel fulfilled when they come to work because it's my baby. They're not ever going to love it as much as me, but I do want them to come into work and enjoy using the skills that they have, the talent that they have to accomplish something. And at the end of the day, feel fulfilled as best as they can in somebody else's business. And so,
How do you
whatever.
measure that? Like, how do you know if they feel fulfilled?
Well, what I do in those one on ones each month is, first I'm asking them how's life. It's not just about like work, like what's going on in life, you know. Um, and some want to share everything, some want to share a little bit, like whatever's comfortable. I'm good with that. But I do want them to know that I genuinely care for you outside of what you do for this business. Um, but I'm also asking like, what can I do to make your your life, your job easier and more efficient? What can I do to make you more efficient? What can I do to make you enjoy work more? Is it uh, a workflow? Business related? Is it uh, we have a hybrid model here at Agento. It wasn't my original idea. It evolved from this is what's best for the team. This is how I'm going to get the best out of these people on the team. It's how they best work. Great. If they're going to get their work done, let's do that. Like whatever's going to help them to get their things done, feel fulfilled at the end of the day. I'm actively listening to that feedback, and then it's not okay. Cool. Now get back to work. I've got this list of notes that I need to implement. I'm serving them every day, and I think that they feel that, and not only are they fulfilled and they want to work and they're enjoying it, but I think that they want to pour it back. I'm pouring into them. I think they want to pour back into Agento in turn.
Man, that's pretty cool, man. And it radiates. I've never had this leadership conversation with you,
Yeah.
but everything you're saying, you can physically see that relationship with you and your team. In the Marine Corps, we had this saying for good leaders. We would say we'd charge hell with a water pistol for that guy, and it seems like your folks will do the same thing, man.
I love that.
Uh, yeah. All right, let's talk about your area of expertise. Um, how important, like in my Relentless Goal Achievers community right now, we really starting to focus on building personal brand. Like
Yeah.
everybody wants to go out and sell and sell and sell, but then you look at Elon Musk, right? Like Tesla's his brand, but everybody knows Elon Musk, the knucklehead on X, and
Yeah.
how he just fires back at people. Sir Richard Branson comes to mind, right? Like all the
Okay.
businesses he has, but that crazy entrepreneur who's flying around the world in a hot air balloon and owns islands and stuff. I follow guys like Bedros Koulian, who's just an amazing dude at personal branding. I feel like you got a personal brand. Before anybody hears Agento, they know Chris. Like
Yeah.
they know who Chris Williams is in the area. You've done a really good job at that. For businesses out there right now, where would you rate once again on a scale of 1 to 10, how important it is for them, for the leaders in that business, to start building a personal brand?
Most businesses, I would say 10. And I say that because I don't know who the local owner of this McDonald's is, or I don't know who the local owner of this, LA Fitness is, or even if that's a franchise. I don't know. Those are large organizations. I don't think it's as important to them because they have the shield in front of them of this major brand. But most businesses, privately owned, yeah, it's tremendously important. Um, can you grow a business without it? Sure. Yeah, sure. Um, but you're leaving a lot on the table.
Mm-hmm.
If you can
Like
develop a
what?
person, well, if you can develop a personal brand, tech evolves and all these industries evolve and the world evolves absolutely, but people still do business with people. That's
Mm-hmm.
never going to change. And um, if you're able to show people who you are and genuinely, I guess it starts with that, genuinely be good people, but then show people who you are, um, people are going to want to take a shot on you. You know, you're always going to sell, if you have a good product, good service, you're always going to sell to people who have a tremendous need, right? You're a plumber, somebody toilet backs up or their, shower overflows or whatever. They got a need, they need you, they might take a shot on you, but they also might take a shot on a competitor. If you've built a personal brand, they're not going to go to Google or ask Alexa. Uh, they're not going to ask them an arbitrary question, right? Like, hey, get me the number to the best plumber in town. No, no, no. Give me the number to Eric. Like, give me the number to Chris, right? Like, they're going to call because you have a personal brand that they trust.
How does somebody go about doing that?
So, I mean, a lot of ways, digitally, it starts with creating content. You can No, that's not true. It starts with doing the right thing.
Mm.
So it starts with, doing right by people, whether those are clients or not. Just whether it's somebody that's paying you or not, just do right by people that you meet. Um, but then start documenting things, right? Like start documenting the nonprofit work you're doing. Start documenting the successes you've had with customers or clients. Start asking your customers or clients to document it, to leave reviews. It's a big part of creating a personal brand. And then rinse and repeat. You said I see this guy everywhere. It seemed that way, right? But
Mm-hmm.
that's because I'm documenting. If I'm out at doing some work with a nonprofit, I'm documenting that because I believe in this nonprofit. I believe in their mission. I want others to see it and believe in it as well. But oh, by the way, I'm here doing the work. Here- I'm showing the things that I'm doing. So there's a business component to that, but it does start with just being good people and genuinely caring for missions, causes, people in general.
So somebody's sitting there, they're like, okay, fine, but how does that build my personal brand, right? So I see Salvation Army behind you quite a bit.
Sure.
So it sounds like you support that cause, or looks that way at least.
Yeah.
And great. I see Chris out. I see Chris helping the Salvation Army. How does that help Chris promote Agento?
Because so there's a lot of competitors in my space, right? Like, especially since COVID, a lot of people were like, oh, and I'm great at social media. I'm going to jump in, and hats off to them. I hope that, that they find success. But a lot of competitors. But, if you had a need for Instagram marketing, for example, and, you go to Google and you search and you see all these companies, but you also know this guy, Chris, who believes in a mission, who invited you to come serve dinner to the homeless one time, who, it has got all these reviews that people say, hey, he did right by us. Results or not, like just even before they dig deeper, just on the top level, they see, hey, this guy did right by us. His company did right by us. That you're gonna go with that person. You're gonna do business with. You're at least gonna try him. Like, take a chance because all these other people, in my industry, we call that social proof. Like, and all these other people said, "Hey, this guy did right by us. Yeah, let's take a shot. Everybody else is having success. Why not?" That's how it translates into business. But man, it is not overnight.
No, 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 no. It's got to be consistent. I got to tell you. So you're absolutely right. I mean, people, when they see somebody doing good in one area of life, they automatically assume that they're going to be good in other areas of life.
Right.
I'll tell you how this worked. I was leading a sales team for a Xerox company.
Okay.
And I'm an early gym guy, right? So 5 a.m. I'm in the gym, leaving the gym about 7:15, 7:20 to get to the office by 7:30, 7:40. And I kept seeing this young man who was just shredded. And he was the hardest working, like early 20s, but he's in a gym either right around the same time as I come in or maybe a little bit earlier than me, lifting heavy weights, like just jacked as can be. Lean, shredded, 8-pack, like just, you know. So I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, anybody with that kind of discipline who can show up is going to be amazing in sales.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I invited him in. I was like, hey, man, what do you do for work? He was like a security guard at some place, like not, just a young man. I was like, hey, do you ever considered a career in sales? And he tried to tell me no. And I'm like convincing him how because he can lift weights, he'll be great at sales. So I was so biased, man. Like I brought him in for an interview. 3 other managers interview him, and they all were like, oh, I don't know about this guy. I'm like, no. He's going to be great. Trust me. He's on my team. I take full responsibility. That guy sucked.
Did
Like
he
that guy
really?
was, oh my gosh. You know why? He sucked because he was such an introvert. He was afraid to make a call or knock on
Uh,
doors or anything else. But the reason I'm sharing this with people is because none of that mattered to me. Like I went kind of blind and I just focused on the fact that, hey, because he's good and disciplined here, he's going to be good and
discipline.
disciplined here. And that's exactly what happens in that case when they're like, oh my God, Chris is helping Salvation Army or whatever nonprofits, and Chris is spending his time here, and Chris is hanging out with these people, and Chris is doing this. He must be good at everything else.
They'll take a shot.
And
They'll
they'll
take a
take a
shot.
shot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now it's up to you to, it's up to
Absolutely.
you
To
to
deliver.
lose that
Yeah.
shot, but
Yeah.
it definitely increases the chances of
He
getting the
got
shot.
he got that shot. I mean, turns
He
out
got
he
the
just
shot.
loved lifting weights, but he got the shot.
He got the shot, man. I felt like a jackass, but whatever. Lesson learned. I was a young manager, and that's all right. We all make mistakes.
Yeah.
What's your hiring process like? How do you find good people? Because I'm sure these guys seem to fit your culture. I can almost meet somebody without them even being a Agento and know that they work for you.
Yeah, I'm real particular. We get calls uh fairly often, are you hiring for this, hiring for that? No, we're not hiring. I don't You won't go to our website and find, open positions and things like that. Very particular. And the process is long. I don't hire anybody that's not currently working, right? Like it's and the reason for that, firstly, is because it's a long process. If somebody's not working, it's a 3, 4, even 5 week process to go through. They got to pay their bills. I don't, so
Yeah.
that's first and foremost. Second, in most cases, I'm choosing them. I find somebody, identify, character, identify work ethic. Um,
Through you're observing how they're working at their current position, or
yeah,
how do you do that? Okay.
yeah, how they're working at their current position, a little bit of their personal brand, what other people say about them, um, over time. That's not
Mhm.
instant as well. That's well before we ever even engage in conversation. Um, all with one exception. Josh Cockey, that's on my team. I'll tell you his story, or his how he came on board soon. But no, I usually I want to sit down with them and just have a cup of coffee or a lunch, and I just want to get to know them a little bit better. I want to see um how they interact with people around them. That old hiring trick about how do they treat the wait staff and stuff like that. I want to see those things, right? Like, is it an older person, younger person that's serving us at the table? How do they treat that person? You from there, yeah, we'll talk a little bit more. Um, that could be a little bit more casual. I've taken guys to the driving range. I've gone on walks, with guys just to get to know them a little bit better. I don't sit down with them with a bulleted list of questions and ask them, where do you see yourself in 5 years? I don't. I went through a lot of those in my life. It worked for those companies, I guess. It's just not doesn't work for me. I want to know who these people genuinely are. Um, yes, I look at their social media. Absolutely. 100%. Not to see if they know how to do a particular job. I don't hire for, skill or what. I hire for character, you know, if they're a culture fit. And then something I just implemented here recently is I want to sit down with them and my wife. She's a good judge of character. She's, gonna look at it not caring about like, can they do great at social media? Can they do great at video production? Uh, is this a good person? Right? An extra set of eyes that knows what I'm looking for, that has the same, mind that I do. Um, and I took that from the guys over at Axiom. Like, it's just, good business owner will take good ideas from anybody. Um, and then at that point, if they're still interested and I'm still interested, let's talk money, right? Because they got to pay their bills. I don't want my guys in here worried about how they're going to come up with rent money or grocery money. I'm not making people, you know, Elon Musk, but I do want them to be focused on their work and not too, worried about working for dinner, so to speak. So we talk money. If that works out, then I'll extend an offer. But it's a lengthy process, man, very lengthy.
Yeah. What have you found works to inspire young people?
Two things: empathy. Empathy, number one. Young people have young people grew up differently than you and I. Like they just it's just a different world, and in this Gen Alpha who's growing up now, right? It'll be different them to millennia, whatever. So empathy to what makes them tick, like sitting down and figuring out what makes them tick, what they're inspired by, literally outside of work, like what gets you going, what excites you, unrelated to work, and then finding ways to um, relate to those things. If they're inspired by, I'll give you an example. Javar Beatty is really inspired about um, uh, helping young people um, in tough family situations stay focused on schoolwork, stay focused on going to finishing school, getting to college. He prides himself on helping people to come up, who are in a tough family environment or tough neighborhood or whatever, to stay focused on school, whether that's by like, involving them in a sport or helping them with the books or whatever it is, like whatever he can do to help young people. And so, how can I help him to not only pay his bills and stuff, because that's what work is for, but to find the time to pour into what he's passionate about? Like, what can I do to help that? That's one. Um, and then two, allowing them to flourish based on their preferred working method. So, like, we've got office space here on Fruitville Road. We've been here for a decade in this office. I got guys that come into the office nearly every day. I'm an office guy, come into the office every day. I got folks who don't come in here at all. I got folks who come in just once a week for our we have Zoom meetings throughout the week, but we have one meeting here in the office. Everybody needs to be there. That's it. That's the only time they're in the office, but they get their stuff done because I am allowing them. I don't know if that's the right word, but yeah,
That
I
is the
guess.
right.
Yeah, allowing
Yeah,
them. Yeah, I guess allowing them to work where they feel best. I got some
I
people
love
that
that.
work from home. I got a woman on my team that is a full-time content writer, and last year, coming out of COVID, she traveled a lot all over the country. She'd get on road trips, go to see friends and stuff like that. And she loved it. And so she just kept doing it. But she's getting her work done. I don't care if you're writing our client content from Arizona.
Right.
Can you get on a Zoom to talk to the client? Cool. Can you follow the marketing strategy that we've implemented? Cool. Are you writing good content? Great. Then I don't care if you're on the moon. Go where you want to
Yeah.
go. Yeah.
I love that. Working, hey, here's what needs to get done. You do it however is best for you, and you set people. You're kind of my whole passion and mission in life is to help set people free. That's what you're doing with people. You're setting them free to do it however they want to do. And I think what you're doing is inspiring a lot of creativity.
Yeah, I get the most out of them. They really flourish. I got guys that are morning, people like I am. They want to get up and get work done, and I got folks who will do. I'll see their tasks get marked off at 2 a.m. Like, what are you doing up at 2 a.m.? But that's when they're most, efficient.
Oh
Great.
my gosh. The fact that you know that. And I mean, if more leaders just knew that, how do my
Yeah,
people work best and
yeah,
give them space to do it in, the productivity is going to skyrocket and the
skyrocket.
quality of work is going to improve tremendously.
Yeah.
I got to ask you where your empathy came from, man, because you are a very empathetic guy, but it would have been a lot easier for you to going through what you went through, having to sleep in the car,
Mm.
working, nighttime at Goodwill while you're doing the side hustle and building the business. It would be easy for you not to accept any excuses. You didn't allow yourself to accept any excuses. You weren't like super empathetic to you, I don't think, at that
No.
time, right? Like dinner, freaking dinner. I got to get
Yeah,
dinner,
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 man.
dinner.
Dinner.
I don't care. Hey, dinner. So, where did that change for you?
That's a great question. I, Nobody's ever asked me that. You know what? Last year, the Business Alliance did this. How to. It was like an HR luncheon, and it was how to relate to different generations, right? And
Mm,
I remember that a guy on the stage. He was an older gentleman, and he talked about like the baby boomers and how baby boomers just worked and worked and worked and worked and worked. And my mom was a baby boomer, and I saw her work and work and work. She's a single mom, and taking two buses, to work, but whatever it took. She took me to her job interview. I remember that, like just whatever it took to get the job done and put food on the table, she was going to do. And I think like I'm not a baby boomer. I don't remember what generation I am, but
were you born
just
late 70s, early 80s?
82. Yeah, born in
82?
82. Was that Gen
Yes.
X?
I think you're a millennial.
Oh,
Yeah, and I listen, I'm 80 and I think that's like the beginning
the
of
cutoff.
millennials.
Oh, okay, okay, okay. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I'm not a baby boomer, of course, but just seeing that work ethic, excuse me, that's how I was raised, was just you work and you work where you put food on the table no matter what. So if that means you're working in the factory, you're scrubbing toilets, or you're working on cars, or you're in a bank, or whatever it is, like you do whatever it takes to put food on the table. And I'd be lying if I didn't mention, I had a newborn. It's 2011, so it ain't just me, right? Like I'm helping mom a little bit, but this person, God gave me this person. I'm supposed to take care of this person, like this baby. Like, man, of course that was part of the drive. Um, so no, I guess I wasn't really empathetic with myself. Um, but to my earlier point, that I my personality was to work, 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 like just to outwork my competition. That was my personality. That's how I best thrived. That's what inspired me. So maybe I was empathetic.
You feel like that's who you're attracting because that's who you are at your core?
Not necessarily.
Huh.
No, I mean, I got guys on my team who are they don't live to work, they work to live,
Yeah.
and I'm getting better at work life balance, getting better. Um, but at the end of the day, like if work has to be done, life is going to take the sacrifice. I'm building something, you know what I mean?
Mm,
And I'm willing to do, just like I was willing to work all those hours for dinner. I'm willing to do what is needed to be done now for this goal that I have at the end. Like,
man. There's so much about you that's interesting because you could you could just rule and lead in that same way. Like work is work. This is what we came here to do and this
yeah,
is the culture I have, and but you're completely opposite of that. And yet the results are probably better being this way.
Yeah, and I'd be lying if I didn't mention I have made mistakes. The first employee I hired, she was a web developer. Shouts out Julie. Um, and that's how I started the business, was web dev, right? And so like she would do stuff, and I'd be like, no, don't do it that way. Do it this way. Don't do that. Do it like this. And I just, you know, she worked with me for, I don't know, a year and a half, maybe 2 years, and ended up just taking another opportunity somewhere else. And I've always felt like, man, I just kind of like looked over her shoulder and told her how she needed to do it, instead of just making sure that she was trained, right? Like, sure, pour into them, but letting her flourish.
Mm.
It was a mistake that I made, but from that I learned, how to be better. So
Julie, if you're listening to this, give it a thumbs up because she's got a nice shout out. Let us
shouts
know.
out, Julie.
Yeah, that's awesome. Oh man, Chris, I could talk to you all freaking day, man.
Likewise, man.
What did I not ask you that you were hoping I would?
Nobody's ever asked me that either. I don't know if there's anything. I mean, I'm glad that we talked about leadership. I wish that more, not that I'm perfect by any stretch, but I wish that more organizations and more leaders would pour into their team the way that I'm trying to. Again, not perfect, but um, I think that we'd have more young people that were fulfilled. And I think that this generation that we look at and say, oh, they're lazy, and they don't want to work or whatever. I think they'd be more willing. Um, it goes the other way too, though, right? Like I see those videos, like, oh man, I'm not working 3 straight hours or what, or whatever it is. I get it, but um, I think if we poured more into the next generation, the way that they want to be treated, um, we'd get more out of them. But
Yeah, the golden rule states treat everybody the way you want to be treated. The platinum rule is treat them the way they
that's
need to
right.
be treated.
That's right. Amen
Um,
to that.
Chris, I got to ask you, as we wrap up here, what's your process for setting goals? And because goal setting and goal achieving are two different things.
Yeah.
So walk me through goal setting, goal achieving, and
Yeah.
transferring that vision to your people so that everybody's on the same page.
Yeah. Well, so different goals, different levels to goals, right? Goals personal, right, and then goals for the business. Um, Goal setting is based on, is the juice worth the squeeze, right? Like, what's the if you're, for a business owner that is just starting out, right? If your goal is to make $500,000 your first year, cool. For what? Like, what's it for? What are you going to use that for 500,000 for if you get there? Because if it ain't worth the squeeze, then you're not gonna push yourself to get there. So that's the first thing, making sure the juice is worth the squeeze, and that's the first thing for me. Second, I still set goals, and prefer measurable goals that I can reverse engineer, just like when I was living in the motel, exactly the same. So if there's a goal, in terms of revenue, what does that mean in terms of how many clients we bring on, how many clients that how do we make sure that we keep those clients, um, uh, and then how do I trickle down, um, what needs to be done to keep those clients, like, so just reverse engineering all that stuff. Absolutely, I still sit down, and I write all those things out, and I reverse engineer them. This means this, and this equates to that. Um, But for a revenue goal or for a business goal, pretty much of any sort, I believe it 100% starts with culture. If I keep doing what I do with my guys and my gals on the team, I treat them with respect. I help them to feel fulfilled, and the culture here continues to be great. They will go out into the community and treat others the way that I am treating them. They will treat clients the way that I am treating them, and that trickles down.
Mm.
Um, For non-revenue related goals, um, I still believe that, so like a personal goal, I still believe that reverse engineering it is the best way to get there. If you want to lose 20 pounds, that means you got to eat these things and you got to work out this amount of time. There's no way around it. You reverse engineer it, and then you start here at the first step, and you just follow along. Does that mean you're guaranteed to get it? No, it doesn't mean you're guaranteed to get it. But if you don't do those things, there's no way you're gonna get to that goal.
When I got the idea to write my book, I would find, I'd get inspired and I would sit down one day and I would write, 2,000-3,000 words and then
Yeah.
nothing for weeks. And then I'd get inspired and I forgot what I wrote. So I had to go back and read through it and then start right there. And then I took some seminar on book writing.
Okay.
And the lady, one thing she said was, set a goal, a minimum goal of what you can write every single day. I recommend 400 words per day. So on the days you don't feel like it, no matter what, you're writing 400. And on the days where you're inspired, you can write 10,000 if you want.
Yeah.
From that day on, every single day I wrote at least 400 words and the book was completed. Like
You got it done because you
that's how
stuck
the
to
book
it.
got done. Because I got,
Yeah.
I'll stick to it. I mean, I had a pretty big why I wanted to write that book. But yeah, that's the only way to do it, man. It's going to be small incremental steps towards your objective. Practice daily with discipline.
What was your why for the book?
I really wanted to start my own business at that time, and that was going to be my business card. I had like this vision, so I needed credibility. I needed something. I had all this knowledge in my head.
Yeah.
Plus, I was a knucklehead in high school. I know you can't tell now, but
I was gonna
back in the
say, like,
day,
really?
yeah, back in the day, I was a knucklehead, man, and knucklehead, not like expelled 3 times, like
Yeah.
expelled 7th grade, expelled 9th grade,
Oh man.
expelled 10th grade. My mom also pretty much a single mom had a field day with me in school.
I bet.
And
I
so
hear it.
for a guy who couldn't, I've never read a book. My first book that I read, I was 26 years old. So going through schools, I never read one single book. Like you gave me homework, I didn't know what homework was. That didn't
Yeah.
exist. If it ain't getting done in school, it's not going home.
No.
And so first book I ever read was Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And it
Good
was a
one.
gift somebody gave me when I was 26. And then I just fell in love with reading. And when I joined the John Maxwell team, I surrounded myself with a bunch of people who were authors. Not intentionally. It was just everybody I met was an author. And as I would get into these conversations, I'm like, well, if they can do it, I can do it. And it almost became like I had to write a book. And then it fit into when I was doing corporate sales training. It was like I would just send sales leaders my book and say, hey, this is the process that it helped me take my sales team from this number to this number. I'd love to chat with you about how I can help you do the same thing. Right.
And of course they want to talk.
They want to talk.
Of course, yeah. I love it.
Instant credibility. Yeah, man. Chris, thank you, my friend. I had a blast with you. How can people get in touch with you or learn more about Agento?
They can go to our website. Well, wait, first, had a blast with you. Thanks for having me on. They can go to our website, agento.com. It's AGINTO.com. Lots of information there. I'll also, say we've had a website blog and a video blog and things like that there for 8-9 years. There's thousands and thousands of pieces of content there for them to consume if they're starting a business or growing a business or whatever it might be. There's tons of free information on that site. So check us out there. If somebody wants to chat, I'll sit down and chat with anybody, whether we're doing business or not.
And you have a podcast as well, right?
We do. Stir. Yeah. Aren't you coming on? You're coming on the show soon, right? Yeah, man. I can't wait for that. Then I'm going to ask you all the questions.
It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, we interview entrepreneurs, and the goal behind that is to, kind of like you and I were talking before we started. Everything I learned about business, not everything, but most of the stuff I learned about business, I learned through trial and error. I didn't go to B school. I don't have an MBA or none of that stuff. No shade to people who do. That's a great path. but I learned through trial and error. And so the goal of the podcast, video podcast, is to share some of those struggles that people go through and how they overcame them, and what their inspiration was and their processes and things like that, so that other entrepreneurs don't have to, stub their toes and stuff the way that I had to.
Oh man, that's really cool. Can't wait to be on that show. It's going to be awesome.
Looking forward to it, man. Thanks.
All right, friends. Hey, if you're not a part of our Relentless Goal Achievers Facebook community, get over there and join it so we can connect, communicate, and learn from each other. See you guys on the next episode, and thank you for tuning in.